Hey guys, it's Phantom here, and welcome back to a brand new video, everyone, where in today's video, I am going to be going over the third arc in its entirety and highlighting its best aspects, the ones that really personally make it, for me, a really enjoyable arc to play. I believe that I've mentioned in previous content before that I really do enjoy the third arc, and it is one of my most favorite in the game. Of course, there is only 3 full arcs that have been released into the game as of right now, just me recording this, but the third arc is definitely up there with the first arc in just how much I love it. The first arc might edge out the third arc just a little bit because of that nostalgia factor, but really I feel like it doesn't take a genius to recognize that the third arc is extremely well done, and of course there are many reasons why I love the third arc, but I kind of wanted to preface like my whole explanation by just saying that there is only really going to be two major characteristics of the third arc that I'm going to touch on in this video, but they are the two most important in my opinion, and I feel like if I said a bunch of other stuff, it would kind of get repetitive with what I'm already saying in these arc videos. So anyways, with all that being said though, let's hop into it. So pretty much I am going to just go ahead and jump right into the first reason why the third arc is so great, and it is going to be, I feel like it's pretty obvious really what makes the third arc what it is, and that is going to be the storyline. And I know I have said that about the previous 2 arcs as well, and I think that's just a testament to how good the story of this game really is, but the third arc does something just completely different, just something so unique compared to all of the other arcs that I mean, it's a lot to process. It's a lot to process when you get through the whole thing. And that is the fact that it paints who you would initially believe to be good as a villain, and I'm talking about the character of Grandmother Raven, of course. Every wizard who's, gotten through the game knows who Grandmother Raven is. Even wizards who haven't even reached Grandmother Raven have heard her voice and might even have a little bit of knowledge, on the topic of her character and how she was integral to the Spiral's creation as just laid out by, some side quests where you can get extra little tidbits of lore. But almost every consistent player of this game is aware of Grandmother Raven, a primal divine force that was responsible for the creation of the Spiral. Of course, her and Bartleby with, the little song of creation and all of that stuff. Kind of besides the point, but not really though. But Grandmother Raven, like, someone who you would look at and just be like, oh my gosh, like she's like the sweetest little thing ever, and she literally represents like the unified forces of good. Grandmother Raven, she literally created the Spiral, at least, played a big part to help create it. How could she actually be evil, right? Well, the third arc kind of turns her whole reputation on its head. Now, of course, you get introduced to Spider, whose kind of backstory is completely intertwined with Grandmother Raven, because if you guys don't know, there were, at the beginning, pretty much of like everything in this game. Before anything that you see in front of you was ever created, there were 3 primal divine forces, right? There were just 3, and it was Raven, and it was Spider, and Bartleby, of course, and they pretty much, I think it was actually Raven and Spider, them alone, actually sung the Titans into existence, which were they were kind of like the first sort of actual species. I'm just gonna go ahead and log out here, but yeah, they created the Titans. Of course, they created the Titans as like a little, they called them their children. I guess that's pretty much what they were, and Raven's motivation for creating them was for them to pretty much be a unified force of good, because that's pretty much what Raven like stands for in general, so it makes sense that she'd want her children to be like that. And then Spider comes along pretty much with his shadow magic and gives them, I believe the wiki said something about self-serving autonomy, so essentially free will to just do whatever they want. And Raven didn't like that because, well, that started a whole war, which created, a bunch of trouble. The first world ended up getting destroyed, and Raven was fuming at Spider for what he did. So the fighting goes on and on in between Spider and Raven, and of course Raven eventually seals up Spider into one of the deepest pits of the Spiral. Of course, the pit that we find him in Chrysalis. She seals him in there, and he's trapped there. He's trapped there for a very, very long time. He's trapped and he was attacked and just essentially tortured on the basis of who he is, of the primal divine force and what he represents, which is just chaos, you know, which is just chaos. So essentially she locks Spider away just because of an ego trip, right? And just doesn't simply like what he's doing. However, failing to recognize, though, at the exact same time, that Spider's tendencies are pretty much just in line with the definition of existence itself, or at least a factor that kind of amalgamates, right, with all of the good to create existence, because existence is not the same without chaos, if that makes sense. You can't just have all order and harmony and peace. That's not what life is like, and Spider essentially just represents that. He represents that, and Grandmother Raven just simply doesn't like that. Simply doesn't like that. So of course she does something extremely selfish. She locks him away and takes his heart, because of course she needs his heart to create the spiral, because the spiral wouldn't be the spiral without the chaos heart. So you literally need to have chaos. And Grandmother Raven, I mean, she's just like holding a grudge all this time, while all the while just being extremely, extremely hypocritical with the taking of Spider's heart to create something new, to create, you know, something that her and Bartleby, but of course her having an extreme amount of control, you know, over just the spiral's creation, is, well, it's something that's at least in line with, you know, her kind of beliefs. So Spider just kind of becomes a vessel for her, all the while he's just being extremely, extremely mentally tormented, right, in this hole, just down in the darkness. And so he starts to have dreams and nightmares as well. And then this contributes to the birth of his children, Rat, Bat, and also Scorpion as well, which, you know, I'm sure all of us are very, very familiar with, as they are some of the main bosses that you do actually encounter in the third arc. But pretty much, you know, the Bat, as well as, well, no, sorry, the Bat as just like a standalone character was born of, you know, his dreams, his positive dreams, and then, you know, the Scorpion as well as the Rat were born of his nightmares. So that kind of just makes sense as to why they are much more evil, you know, and wanting to, you know, spread chaos a lot more and all that stuff. And essentially we let the beast out, and then that just kind of leads to him, Grandfather Spider, I mean, just going on a quest to try to find his chaos heart so he can finally be whole again, which is really just a reasonable thing to do. It's a really, really reasonable thing to do, and it's kind of funny that we've been trying to stop him the whole time, because you see, Spider is the personification of evil. He is literally, I mean, he is evil itself, at least according to Grandmother Raven and the rest of the spiral, because, well, of course, him and just really the shadow itself has been negatively connotated by Raven so heavily that, of course, her influence is spread across the spiral. So now everyone believes Spider is the bad guy, essentially, when in reality it's her, and she's kind of just failing to recognize that he's not inherently evil. He's really, really not. He's just simply a divine force that needs to exist if we want existence to exist, right? And we can't blame him for that. I mean, you simply can't blame him for that. He was really only doing things the only way he knew how. So just this whole backstory with Grandmother Raven and Spider and the relationship that they have with each other, and kind of what comes of that, and just how that's just a driving force behind like every single little task that we do in the third arc. Well, I think that's extremely well thought out and just simply amazing. It really is, like, what they were able to do with the third arc storyline and all of the main characters and how they play off of one another, and just have like a really deep and complex relationship that you would not normally expect if you've only gone through the first 2 arcs of this game. I really do think that the storyline in Arc 3 is something special and really does set it apart from all of the other, you know, arcs in this game, as well as just all the other little quests, storylines, and plot points as well. Like, Raven and Spider's relationship is just something truly, truly amazing, right? Like, there's humanity in it. You're shown that both of these primal divine forces are not perfect. They both have flaws, you know, they both have flaws. and stuff comes of those flaws, and just my god, is it beautiful to witness. I know I'm talking really generally, but just the overarching storyline of Arc 3 is so good, and it validates everything. It validates every single little quest that we do, just so much more, and I love it. It's an amazing backbone. Now, another thing that I wanted to talk about, this video is probably already going to be super long already just because of how much I talked about the story initially, but anyways, there's another thing that I would like to bring up, though, about the third arc as, you know, a whole, and another reason why I love it so much, and that is the fact that, well, out of all of the worlds that you explore in the third arc, well, I've come to dislike literally none of them. I legitimately like each world that is presented to us in the third arc. Of course, you start out with Polaris, which I think is just one of the most amazing worlds in this game, right? The storyline with the rat and all of that, the design, the characters of Polaris, it all just kind of combines into just really a beautiful mess. I absolutely love it. Of course, you know, we get the Arcanum as well, which is definitely not a full-fledged world, but a really cool area with just a ton of mystery behind it. You get Mirage, right, which just the characters in Mirage, the storyline I think is pretty good as well, although maybe not quite as good as Polaris, but the characters were absolutely amazing in Mirage, just the overall vibe of it, the design, the aesthetic, of course, by the way, for all of these worlds is just absolutely amazing, and there was definitely just such a big increase in quality when you compare just all of these worlds to all of the worlds of the second arc. Granted, these did come out much later, but still, it's a really nice change. And then, of course, Imperia, an amazing storyline that I just don't think gets really quite enough credit, with just some of the best, you know, fully fledged areas in this game. It's so incredible, and it all comes together just so beautifully. So yeah, I can say for sure that the third arc is just unequivocally amazing, and anyone who says otherwise is just simply incorrect, and that's just how it is. But anyways, that is pretty much going to be it for this video, everyone. I really hope you guys did enjoy. If you did, you could always leave a like on the video or subscribe to the channel if you so please to. That would help me out immensely, and I really would appreciate it. But of course, if you don't wanna, I mean, hey, that's alright. That's alright with me. But anyways, guys, I will see you all in the next video or stream, whenever that may be. So enjoy the rest of your day, everyone. Take care, and peace out.